Where did you grow up?
So I grew up mainly in a little commuter town called Red Hill, which is just south of London. On a very, very clear day, if you are at the top of the London Eye, you can just about see where I grew up.
What was school like?
It was pretty boring. I was a solid B student at school. It was all right.
What was your favourite subject while you were there?
Geography.
Back then, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A geography teacher.
Is there something you wish you'd known as a student?
I think probably just to have more faith in yourself, I think.
What degrees do you have?
So I did my undergraduate in archaeological science and geography, and I've got a master's in forensic anthropology and a PhD in forensic anthropology.
So what was your first job?
My first job when I was at school was I had a newspaper round back in the day when we had newspapers, and then I worked for Woolworths for a bit, and I worked there when I was doing my degree. That was great, I loved doing that, and I worked for Blockbusters for a bit as well.
Could you tell us a bit about your family?
Yep, so my mum lives down in Surrey, and I've got a younger sister who lives down in Southampton.
And your wife's an archaeologist?
She is, she's a professor of archaeology at Durham, yeah.
Do you go for digs on family holidays?
Yes, we do.
So are your children budding anthropologists and archaeologists?
No, they think it's stupid.
Any pets?
We've got a dog called Dougal, who's a half Shih Tzu, half Poodle cross.
How do you start a normal day?
I get up, I'm usually the first person up in the house, get myself some breakfast, then start chewing along everyone else, and then off to work.
What hobbies keep you busy away from the classroom?
Mainly I guess I play video games, and I kind of mess around with the kids.
What's your favourite video game?
At the moment it's The Witcher 3.
And you blog about your life too. Where do you find the time?
I have no work-life balance.
Could you tell us a bit about forensic anthropology?
Yeah, so forensic anthropology is really about understanding the skeleton, thinking a bit about identification, sex, age, stature, any illnesses and those sorts of things from skeletal remains, but applying that knowledge to a medical legal context. So it's really about trying to help the police or human rights organisations to understand who a person was and how they died. It's a really important subject, not just in terms of thinking about a country's kind of criminal justice system, but it's really important in context of massive violence. If we think about Ukraine, for example, at the moment, or in countries of transitional justice.
When did you discover your passion for it?
At the end of my undergraduate degree. So I did a lot of archaeology in my undergraduate degree, and I really, really liked the kind of bones module that was there, and that really kind of connected with me, and so I decided to do that for my MSc. But I really was interested in doing that, but in like a modern setting, and so forensic anthropology is where it's at.
You've discussed some really exciting research around what happens to our bodies if we die in space or if they're burned.
Yes.
Could you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that I'm really interested in about the body is how it changes. We have this sense that the skeleton is this rigid thing that is kind of hard and dry and doesn't really kind of change, but you only get that sense, if you go to a museum and you see skeletons on display. Actually, the skeleton is really malleable. It changes all the time. It's a living tissue. And then when you die as well, it goes through this process called diagenesis, which is when the body and the skeleton changes. It changes its chemical, its crystal structure, all these sorts of things. Now, different events, we call them taphonomic factors, so things like burning or water or being in space, will influence how that skeleton changes. So what I'm interested in is understanding how those different factors cause the change, and then how we can sort of work backwards from that in different kind of contexts of violence.
What does happen to our bodies if we die in space?
It's a really good question. No one really knows because it's not really happened. But the thinking is that obviously we've got two things to think about. One is there's no gravity, and one is the cold. And that's really interesting when we think about what happens in the body normally when you die here, like on Earth, where you've got the impact of bacterial change, which is really influenced by temperature. You've got the kind of pooling and moving around of your blood after you die, which is influenced by gravity. So all these sorts of things don't happen when you're in space. So you'll still go through the same processes because those are kind of biologically governed, but the speed at which that will happen will differ.
Your research even shed new light into how Vesuvius victims died.
Yep.
Could you explain more?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the really interesting things about, say, what happened with Vesuvius. So we've got the two towns. You've got Pompeii and you've got Herculaneum. So Pompeii is the one that everyone knows about. That's the volcano exploded and pyroclastic flow came down and covered the city, and you can go and visit the city, and it's an amazing, amazing place. Herculaneum is slightly different. That's where we did our research. It's slightly different direction from Pompeii, and what's interesting there is that So when Vesuvius erupted, people in Pompeii didn't know what was happening, they were caught by surprise. But in Herculaneum, they saw it happen and they had time to escape. And so they all ran down from the town, which is like a little kind of a port on the sea, ran to the coast. And then what we then see are people who died on the beach and people who died in these little boat houses. So we were really interested in what happened to those people in the boat houses, because they didn't burn in the way that you might think of, if you get hit by kind of stuff coming out of a volcano, but they kind of got trapped inside that stone building and ended up effectively being baked instead of burnt.
Nice. Where's the coolest place you've talked about your research?
Iceland.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we went, this was another work/holiday trip, and we went over to Iceland and Reykjavik to do a little bit of work over there, and kind of presented some of our research at the university there and the museum. It was a lot of fun. How
many papers would you say you've published?
Over 70 or 80, I think, papers and chapters.
What are you working on at the minute?
We've got this really cool thing at the moment, which is, it's not actually to do with the burning at all. There's some human remains that were recovered in York, just down the road, that people think have come from a sort of gladiator setting. And one of those skeletons has these bite marks in and around its bum. And so what we're doing is we're looking at those bite marks and trying to figure out if they happen at the time of death, if they've happened because of animal scavenging afterwards, and what animal may have caused them.
What are 3 words you'd use to describe your work?
See, this is going to make me sound like really pompous. I would say interesting and important and revealing, maybe.
What's been your career highlight so far?
Becoming dean of the school.
How does it feel to be dean?
It's good. I really enjoy it. We have a fantastic team of people that we get to work with. We're doing important work, not just for the university, but for the wider community as well. And I'm learning lots and lots of new things as well. So it's challenging, but in a good way.
Any more goals you're hoping to achieve?
Yes. Ultimately, you look for the next step at some point. So we've got thinking a bit about the development of our medical school at the university, and then maybe beyond that, we'll see, maybe PVC one day.
If you had to completely leave anthropology behind and change your subject specialism, what would you choose?
Well, that would be like a betrayal, betraying my own children. I'm not sure what other subject I would do. But I think if I wasn't an academic, I think I'd probably go into writing.
And other than your own research, what research being conducted across the uni you're excited by?
I'm really interested in things like these human factors, so decision making, and how that links with AI as well. So I think there's a lot of really exciting work going on in that space.
So Teesside University's state-of-the-art science, health and medical facility is set to open later this year. Yeah. Are you excited for it to open?
Cannot wait. It's going to be genuinely transformative in what we do.
Who will BIOS be for?
So BIOS is for the students primarily. It's a big building. It's much bigger in the flesh than I thought it was going to be when you look at the plans. But it's super exciting, and it's just full of teaching spaces. So it's full of labs and flexible learning spaces and immersion suites. So we've really crammed a lot of learning space into that building.
Where will it be on campus?
So the BIOS building is going to be situated in between the Curve and our Centuria building.
Building work's already well on the way. How's it look so far?
Looks great. It looks great to see it actually built with the frame up, and now they're putting all the kind of windows and the insulation on. It looks fantastic.
What do you think the best space within BIOS will be?
Well, I am biased because I like kind of digital learning. So for me, it's going to be the digital clinical anatomy suite.
And what will the impact of BIOS be on Teesside Uni and beyond?
So in terms of Teesside Uni, it's allowing us it's providing genuinely kind of state-of-the-art teaching space for our health and life science students. It's transformed the offer that we have now, not just in terms of the quality of the teaching space, but the way it's been packaged together. We're taking a really flexible approach, so it's allowing us to do a little bit more innovation in the way that we teach as well. But more broadly, in terms of the community, it's a statement of intent in terms of the direction that Teesside University and the School of Health and Life Sciences are travelling.
Let's end with a quick-fire this or that round.
Okay.
Books or films?
Films.
Music or podcasts?
Podcasts.
Holiday abroad or holiday in the UK?
Holiday abroad.
Cooking or eating out?
Eating out.
Football or rugby?
Football.